As our mayor does, I'm knocking. Let me see. Calling this personnel committee meeting to order. Present is chair of our HR department, Ms. Cheryl Hart. I think I see Doug at the beach. Commissioner Kern, our mayor, Commissioner Bullock, Commissioner Geary, and our city manager. Is Mayor Pro Tem Harris on?
I don't see him.
No, ma'am, he's not.
Okay. Well, at this time, I would like to turn this meeting over to our, the chairman of our personnel committee. And you take it away, Melissa.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us. We've come across that we do not have a cost of living policy in our handbook, and we would like to add the cost of living adjustment to the handbook in Article 3 of the pay plan in the personnel policy, and as well as that, we would like to add a COLA bonus, and that is if someone is over the maximum of the class of ranges for that pay grade, they would be able to still receive some type of a pay. And what we would do with that is we would bump them to maximum of the new pay grade and then give them a bonus over. For example, if the pay grade is 38,000 maximum, and that with the COLA raise, the person goes to 38,700, they will go to 38,000 for their pay and get a one-time bonus of $700 for the balance. It would not affect their bottom dollar salary.
Is there a reason that we just don't shift the pay chart scale to reflect the cost of living increase? Because I know at the health department, that's what they used to do. Every time there was a cost of living increase, the entire pay scale for every pay grade and all the steps within it shifted accordingly, and they would print out a new pay scale, and that would be what would go into our employee personnel manuals.
We do that. The past 3 years we have not, and that was to keep from compression issues where you have new employees coming in at the same rate that you have somebody from that's been here a year or so. This year we have moved it with the COLA, but there is always the possibility of having someone that will go over.
So if a person just gets a one-time bonus, it's not really a COLA then for them, because everybody else who's getting the increase would, they would get it year after year, would they not?
They're getting a partial COLA to take them up to maximum, and then they would get the balance as a bonus that would be over the maximum of the range.
Right, but if it's only one time, so if I was at the max of my pay,
Yes,
and like, what did we give employees this year, 2.5%?
yes, 2.5.
Okay, so I'm at my max and I get my bonus. Everybody gets the 2.5% and I get mine in the form of a bonus. But then next year, we don't give employees any pay increase. Everybody else has gotten, they will continue to get their 2.5% added, but I would not, because I was at my max.
Correct. You receive it in a one-time bonus. instead of making your salary increase, you would get it as the one-time bonus. You're getting basically the same as an employee, you're just getting it at one time as a bonus
Right, but
versus it
in the,
reflecting your
in-
salary.
but in subsequent years, that employee would not get any increase. So,
They would,
so,
in subsequent years, they would still receive a one-time bonus if they were at the maximum.
okay, so that's, I guess, what I was trying to understand is that it sounded to me like one time means you get it once, but then next year you're out of luck. But what you're saying is,
Anytime that you're at the maximum, you would receive a bonus versus a percentage increase throughout the year, like all the other employees.
right. Oh, so if I was at my max and I got the bonus this year and next year there was no COLA increase for anybody on staff, I would still get a one lump sum bonus for the increase that was done the previous year?
No. If like this year, we're doing a 2.5% COLA. You're at your max, you'll get the one-time bonus for this year. If we don't do a COLA next year, no employees is getting a raise, so you're
But-
still gonna be at the max.
But every other employee's raise that they got this year continues on. Does it not? They get increased to,
Salary by 2.5%.
right. So they're gonna get
this
that 2.5% next year and the year after. But the person who's at their max, if it's a one-time bonus,
They would not, no. They would stay at, like I said, the 38,000 until we did another COLA increase.
that to me is problematic. That one employee, because if you don't increase the pay scale, and I understand the compression issue, but essentially an employee who's reached their max, every other employee is awarded a 2.5 a COLA that increases over time. I mean, that is maintained over time. But just by virtue of being at the max of my class, I'm not going to get the benefit of that except for 1 year. I mean, I know again, looking at Economic Times, I'm just going from what the situation at the health department was. 7 years went by before employees got another COLA. So essentially that person who's at their max, they're going to get one out of those 7 years, but everybody else is going to keep getting that 2.5% increase, but not that person who's at their max.
That is correct. And you have very few employees that make it to max.
I'm just going
on
to ask,
occasion.
how many employees do we have that might be approaching the max?
One.
Just one
We've got
employee.
Just one employee out of 97, so.
But to that one employee, if we don't do a COLA for the next 3 years, 2.5% is 2.5%.
But this is interesting though. Most employees aren't getting close to the max though. As a state employee, it took forever to get to max, and most people never made it, even when they stayed a little longer. So did the person start out at a higher salary or something?
No, the person started out where they were able to get the career development when we used to offer that. They've
Okay.
been here a long time and they've taken advantage of
And then promotions.
and promotions, yes.
Okay. Cool. But this is only, they will only be getting this, and it's not built into their retirement in the future. This is not what their retirement income will be based upon. This is like a bonus.
Retirement income is based on actual wages paid. the annual salary is for budgeting purposes and hiring purposes, but you have the ability to make more than your annual salary, depending on if you're non-exempt and you get overtime, or we offer,
Vacation
vacation.
buyback, longevity, other.
yeah, all that is added to the salary and wages that is reported to retirement as well as Social Security.
So in essence, if we don't do anything, this one employee we have that's at or approaching the max would not get anything.
We have no, he would not. We have no policy for it at all.
Well, I'm not against, I mean, we absolutely need to do something, but I just propose that we consider offering, doing a rewording that if no COLAs are offered in future years, because again, taking that 38,000, that person whose pay is maxed out, I mean, their 2.5% increase is based on the 38,000, and then 2 years go by, everybody else is making whatever they make plus 2.5%. Then we give a 1% increase. That 1% increase is based on the 38,000 max, and that person missed 2 years of the 2.5%, and the 1% increase is going to be, any subsequent increase is going to be based on that flat 38,000 rather than 38,000 plus 2.5%. So effectively, I feel like we ought to be giving some consideration to, I mean, I think this is better than nothing, but without raising the pay scale, because we've given a COLA to everybody, it just seems like this one person is, or 3 people, whatever we end up having, that they pay a price. And I just wonder if there's a different way of phrasing the amendment so that it can accommodate, the unusual circumstances, and maybe there isn't, and so this is the best solution, but that's my concern.
I have checked with other municipalities, and this is the way they are handling it.
We did. We also utilized our consultant who did the pay study and asked her about it and what situation she's experienced. What we are proposing is similar to other municipalities that I have worked in how they handle it. One of the options was, to essentially do nothing, and the employee would receive nothing because they're at the top of the pay scale. And we did not believe that to be fair, so we did not want to do that. So this is what we are proposing to try to offset that a little bit, but we'll certainly check a little further with taking in mind what the mayor has brought to our attention, and see what we can do and potentially come back to this committee with an addendum to this policy should this committee recommend its approval.
Alan,
Yes, sir.
kind of a weird question, I know, but I'm not opposed to looking at this, but I'm just sitting here thinking we're dealing with the maximum of a pay scale, and you've talked 2 or 3 different ways how that can be exceeded. It sort of brings into question why we set it as a maximum in a pay slot.
Yeah, it's a bit unusual. You usually don't have this situation occur. It happens very, very seldom. I've had it happen. This would be the 3rd time in my 28 years that I can recall where we've had it. The other one was essentially a human resources director who had reached the top of that pay grade through the STEP system. and the human resources director is the human resources director. They're not going to be promoted into another position, and had been there almost 30 years, so they had maxed out. And it's just kind of a natural progression. It does not happen until you have employees that have been there a long time or have taken advantage of a merit-based system or an employee incentive program like Melissa was talking about that the city used to have, and migrated through that. Typically, there is a succession plan that they work through, like at Public Works or at the police department, where they become corporals and lieutenants and sergeants and work their way up. And every time they do that, they move into a different grade. For this particular employee is in that grade and has been there a while and has utilized everything to work their way through that grade and the steps within that grade. And now they've reached that max. And, we either need to really look at the pay scale. And if you adjust the pay scale, then there's a domino effect throughout every other grade and every other step. And that's what we have to be conscious and cognizant of, is how does that change everything, and how does that create compression, which is one of the reasons we went through the pay study year before last to try to eliminate that. But it's just a bit of a unique situation with the one position, one employee that we have, and we're looking at the best way to try to address that so that it is as fair and equitable as it can possibly be. But we'll continue to look. But right now, this is the best that we have at the moment.
Thank you for that thorough answer.
So today we're, Melissa, today you would like us to not finalize this, but just amend?
Yes.
To make a recommendation to amend our section 6 cost of living, our COLA.
Yes, ma'am.
Policy.
One follow-up question, please.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I was wondering, what happens though in the future when we may get another employee who may be at the maximum, and the board has to be brought back before the board, and we say no? Will there be any major liability based upon what we do today having an impact on what we may or may not do, 3 years from now or something? I mean, would that be fair to that employee when the board says no, because maybe there really isn't any monies available to do this increase? I mean, the top of your pay grade is the top of your pay grade. What's the liability there for future issues like this? Because I don't want
honestly, while we are doing that now in order to deal with potentially anything that comes along in the future, if you adjust your policy to include this additional section within the policy itself, then it would address that same situation 3 years from now.
Okay, so it will not be brought back before the board again if an employee finds himself in this position again. It will be automatic.
Yes, ma'am.
And what would the automatic be?
The automatic would be that there would be the one-time payout for anything above the max grade level as a one-time COLA payout if a COLA is done during that fiscal year.
So the COLA will be based upon the amount that everyone else gets.
Yes.
That is correct. The board approved within the budget. Yes.
Any other comments?
But essentially then, that person, if they continue to stay, would really bust the ceiling on the salary of that job.
Well, once they reach the max, they would stay there, would they not, and just continue to get bonuses?
Yeah, anytime the the city would receive a COLA, that pay grade would move up and that employee would get to the max, and then anything over the max, they would get a one-time a bonus.
Well, a
Right.
COLA doesn't automatically mean that the pay grade to be upgraded.
Correct. So if that's the case, they would just get the bonus.
So that's what we started with earlier, Ron, is, oh, looks like I'm breaking up. Hang on. That was exactly my premise, is they're going to get it one time. Let me get out of the video. Hang on. They're going to get it one time, but they won't get it in subsequent years. So I guess that would be the one, and any future COLAs will always be based on that maximum salary amount, not anything higher. So for example, using what the example of 38,000, 2.5%, which is our COLA this year, for that employee would be $950. But if we did 2.5% again next year, or in 2 years, they would still get $950. But if the 2.5%, the subsequent COLAs were based on an increased salary, it would be $973, and so they would not get that. I would like us, I don't want to stop the recommendation today, because absolutely we need to do something, and and of course it's not my place, it's the board's place, and I really appreciate the work done on that. But I would respectfully request that we consider maybe adjusting, as you said, Alan, you all keep looking, adjusting that, so that if there are years where there are no COLAs, that maybe the language is adjusted to say that they continue to get a one-time bonus. It would not have obviously raised the entire pay scale, but it just seems to me that if somebody has worked hard enough and long enough for our city to have reached the maximum, that in years when we are not able to give COLAs, they should have the same benefit of a previous COLA that all the other employees would have. That's just my opinion. But
Pat, I have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Kern.
Okay. If, and I'm gonna use round figures, if a person maxes out at 40,000 and they had a 2.5% pay increase, that'd be $1,000 per year. If we were gonna give them a bonus, would we give them the bonus at one time, or would we divide it by 12? Because if you got a raise, you would get it each month. You got a $1,000 raise, you don't get it all at one time. Do we give them the bonus a one-time payment, or do we divide it by 12 and give it each month?
We were looking at a one-time payment.
So if we gave it to them and they retired next month, they would get a $1,000 bonus.
Yeah.
And everybody else gets paid by the month. Then that 1,000 would be divided by 12.
it's interesting. Interesting point.
Yeah.
Interesting point.
I think certainly, and I guess this has come up because it's time for everybody to get their raise, and this person doesn't qualify. They certainly should get something. I don't know that we give it all at one time. But anyway, we need to do something, and then I guess we need to come back and look at it. And I'm not on the committee, but that's just my thoughts.
No, we can take a look at dividing it up.
Thank
But
you.
Yep.
But in the end,
That's a
you
good
come in-
point. That's a good point. It is certainly something that I had thought of. Typically in the policies that I have seen, what Melissa is describing is the standard way of doing it, that it is paid out in a one-time lump sum. That's the way most policies that I have seen are written. I don't think that it precludes us from doing what Commissioner Curran is suggesting. we'll take a look at that and see, because you never know when an employee is going to walk out the door for something they presume to be better, and you've paid that out. So
I'm just gonna play a word game. If we divided the bonus up into yearly increments, monthly, or however, would it be a bonus, or would it be seen as just a salary increase?
well, the policy itself is going to determine how it's actually categorized. How the employee looks at it is up to the employee, but the way that it would be categorized and paid would be based upon the policy itself.
So again, today, we're meeting to recommend amending our policy to add this, and not how it will be allocated. Am I correct?
I think what we would like for you to do today is approve or recommend approval of the policy as it's currently proposed, and we'll seek to tweak it after checking a little bit further into some of the issues that have been raised today. We don't want to not do something for the one employee that is in this position, and we can always adjust it again once we find some potentially language that may assist us that someone else has, and checking with our consultant once again.
Correct. Commissioner Bullock, your thoughts, as you are the only other member of the Personnel Committee.
I find myself basically in favor of it, but still have some questions. Just, I don't know. For example, Commissioner Curry mentioned payout by monthly. You know, if it's a bonus, it's a bonus. That's a direct payout generally. I think it was you, Commissioner Fields, that said that might be viewed more as a salary situation as opposed to a bonus or an extra.
Correct.
The other thing is, I would like to see something done for this one individual to help him. But at the same time, I get a little concerned when I say we want to approve this and then do some tinkering later.
What about, given the kind of discussion about bonus versus not, and what Danny brought up, would a reasonable adjustment to the wording right now be that a bonus broken up in quarterly increments, so that doesn't take it down to the monthly level, but you know, you've kind of spaced it out every 3 months? Would that be something that would be possible to recommend now, and then given Ron's, you know, all the discussion, if anything more gets fleshed out, it comes back to the board again? And then my question related to that is, based on this, was there hope to have this as an add-on item to the agenda for Tuesday?
Yeah, we would like to move forward in some capacity as quickly as we can with the employee in the circumstance that they're in right now, basically at the top of the pay range and ineligible to receive anything.
My feelings are, a person that has reached the top of their pay scale, a bonus, the word bonus is, you've exceeded what was required of you for your job performance. And personally speaking, I would prefer that be one time.
Yeah, Pat, I agree. Well, and that's exactly the way things played out from what I know about, you know, people getting to the top of their pay grade. And then they wouldn't be tied into what everyone else made. But if you got there, you would get a bonus of $500 or whatever the case may be whenever it was given. And that was it. It wasn't tied to a percentage. It wasn't tied to anything. This is what you got, period.
Yeah.
Because to do anything else, though, you will be continuously adjusting in a sense, even though we may not use that word, but you're adjusting the amount of money that that position actually pays. And if they've maxed it out, it keeps going up every time everyone else gets a raise. I mean, regardless of what we call it, whether we call it a bonus or a COLA or a raise or whatever.
Pat, this is Joan
Yes.
Robertson. I just have a question, and I've just been listening, and I don't know if it's possible to give the bonus at the end of the year instead of at the beginning of the year, but I just thought I'd throw that out.
Thank you, and good morning, Joan.
Good morning.
We're at a stalemate. Any recommendations, Commissioner Bullock?
In the meantime, between now and Tuesday, we'll seek to answer a few of these questions, potentially refine this a little bit more. We'll try.
That, I would appreciate that. And with
Okay.
that, I would suggest we go ahead, proceed with it.
Based on what Commissioner, and let me ask, has anybody seen or heard from Mayor Pro Tem yet? Okay. Well, based on what Commissioner Bullock say, we recommend that we go forward with this with the anticipation of further clarification of it on Tuesday night. Am I correct?
Yeah.
I guess, Ron, you and I in favor, so that's a yay. Okay. Any other concerns or comments about this?
No, does anybody else, do you want me to look at anything else other than what we've discussed today?
I don't. Just clarify, get more clarification of what we discussed today.
Okay.
Commissioner Bullock?
Well, again, clarification of what we discussed today, but at any point, at any time, we ought to be looking for, is there a better way? So I'm not opposed to checking other things out.
Commissioner Kern?
No, I'm fine. That's good with me.
Commissioner Gilreath?
Just gonna move forward for Tuesday meeting, and we're gonna continue to think about what we need to do.
Okay.
And I would just add that if if our Melissa Labar or our manager find any, regardless of what type of clarification they have, if they're able to send out anything to the board ahead of time so people have it in writing, it to ponder it. It just takes, sometimes you don't need a lot of time, but it takes a little bit of time seeing it on paper to process it before you're in the middle of the meeting.
Thank you. Well, if there's no further comments or concerns, I declare this Personnel Committee meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.